Those are Stu.
Thank you.
gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What's going on? What's going on? Come through to the show. I know the basketball playoffs are on tonight, and it's a doozy because that's going to be a good game, Gary. That's a game 7, Miami versus Boston. But you know, business before pleasure.
Yep.
So if anybody's new here right now tonight, my name is Grace from Embrace the Grace, and my channel is I Advocate for Men, especially Black men. And me and Gary, my co-host, we sit here and we have the uncomfortable, awkward, and messy conversations we're willing to have because they're necessary. They're necessary for us to heal. They're necessary for us to grow, and they're necessary for us to become better version of ourselves. And you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and of course here on YouTube. But I have two pieces of information, exciting news. Embrace the Grace show with Gary D will be moving to Thursdays starting June 8th. So please, to all my embracers out there, take note of that. My work schedule is changing, so therefore I will not be available on Monday nights, but we're definitely going to move it over to Thursday starting June 8th. And I will be in New York for my first year anniversary, and Mr. Gary D is going to interview me. So we're going to find out how Embrace the Grace came about, why, the how, everything you guys wanted to know. You're going to know that day. It's my 1-year anniversary. I know that my numbers don't reflect it because I did take a 5-month hiatus, but you know what? I'm not here for the numbers. Yes, of course, I want to get monetized. Yes, I want to get my subscribers, but you know what? With the work that me and Gary are doing, we're confident that it's going to happen in time. So everything in time. So with that being said, Gary, go ahead and introduce people.
What's up?
So we can
What's up, everyone?
Because this topic for us hits home. You know, stuff, and tell people where we can find you.
Okay. Well, what's up, everyone? This is Gary D, co-hosting here with my good friend Embrace the Grace. I'm president of Boardwalk Global Media. We do a couple of different podcasts every week, but currently we're on hiatus now. Our main podcast, though, comes on Friday nights. It's called The Real Discussion from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's The Real Discussion with Rock Logic, hosted by Gary D and Robin. We're going to be back on, I believe, in mid-July. So come back, because it's going to be great. You know, we're going to have some hot stuff coming on. And I'm also owner of ESI Global Group, a boutique entertainment management and consulting company. I have a hip-hop artist by the name of Baba T, who y'all probably seen in some magazines, and he's coming up. So be on the lookout. But more importantly, I'm very glad to be here every week with Embrace the Grace, having these real discussions on these real topics that a lot of other people are afraid to talk about. And we really get into it and peel the onion back and make people look at themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's about improvement and having better relationships, right? better communication, right? So, and I'll stop there and I'll pass it back to Grace.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Dixon. Just got a new subscriber. I appreciate that, you know. And guys, don't forget, you know, I saw a podcast today, shout out to Angry Man, and he talked his shit about, you know, when you're asking for donations and support for your channel, it's not begging, because me and Gary, we put a lot of time and effort into this. We have countless conversations off camera, and, you know, he sends me a lot of things. Here's your homework. This is what you got to watch. This is what you got to read. You need to do this. You need to do that. And, you know, you ask, and that's what you need. Sometimes a coach needs a coach. So I'm going to ask you to be so kind. If you find it in your heart, you like what you see, you like what you hear, support the channel. Money tag Embrace the Grace 23 will highly be appreciated. And then let's see, Miss Lee here, she said hand, what is that? Hand, pink, and wave, picking and waving. Okay. And then we got there's Mr. Dixon. I said, hey, Leanne. And there's Mr. Dixon. He's like, first time watcher. Well, it definitely won't be your last, Mr. CO, because we'll definitely be intrigued on what you're going to hear today. So, Gary, we are finally touching.
Turn down the music.
Oh, it's too loud? Of course, huh?
Yeah.
I don't even hear it. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. So you may want to mute it.
Yeah, it is too loud. I usually have it at 23 and it's at 63. Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. So,
there we go.
Gary,
yeah.
We hit topic that very, very to your heart, because it's thing. I mean, if you guys watch our show ever since January, this is something that we're always talking about. We're talking about communication. Today, our topic, but not only just communication, because people can communicate all day long. The main thing that me and Gary are trying to get out there is effective communication and comprehension. We could talk all day, but if I can't interpret what you're trying to communicate to me, then all that talking was done in vain. And communication is the pillar of a relationship. Not just with family members, not just with co-workers, not just with your parents, not just with your children, and especially romantic relationship. It's a pillar, and it's necessary in every type of interaction that people have in everyday life. So go ahead, Gary. What is your take on? Don't get too much too soon, because I know you got a lot.
Oh, man.
What is your initial take on this?
I mean, look, communication, when it comes to any type of relationship, it's extremely important. I believe it's the foundation. I think that people need to take time to really learn how to communicate. I think a lot of people have poor communication skills, and that just could be because of how they grew up, right? How they see mom and dad, or their mom or their dad, or, you know. So it's important for people to learn effective communication skills, because what is it, like 63% of relationships end because of bad communication.
Yep. Well, like lack of communication.
Or lack of communication.
No communication.
Think about that. Like that's insane, right? So that just goes to show you there's a communication problem, right? And when I say a communication problem, is that people not knowing how to communicate, right? Because I mean, you have to learn, you have to understand that before you get into a relationship. I mean, just real quickly, a lot of people now, you know, they're talking about your love language, right? What are your different love languages? Well, shit, you gotta communicate in order to tell your love language, right?
Absolutely. And that is the building block. That is the pillar of the relationship. What's the purpose of you knowing my language if you can't communicate it? It's like me trying to speak to you in Spanish. You're not going to be able to interpret what I'm saying to you because you're not going to understand what I'm trying to communicate with you. And with that being said, let's give the Webster's Dictionary definition is what is communication? Communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, and behavior. However, me and Gary want to touch on effective communication, because we could sit here all day and talk about basic communication, but it's effective communication because we're grown now. Okay, I could be giving a show about basic communication 101 to high school kids, but we've grown up in here, and we need to be able to be willing to learn how to communicate effectively. And we're gonna go over a list of the stupid shit that people call themselves doing because they don't want to communicate, and why other people get so frustrated. Now, the definition of effective communication is the process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, opinions, knowledge, and data so the message is received, understood with clarity and purpose. When we communicate effectively, both the sender and the receiver feel satisfied. But this is the trick, Gary, of effective communication. It's a cyclic process that starts with the sender and it also ends with the sender, as the sender receives a response and feedback from the receiver. So it's what you usually do when you tell me when you're in a relationship, you talk to your female friend and then you turn around and you ask for a recap. And that's what is so important. When I talk to Gary and I'm trying to really get something across to him, I'd be like, so Gary, you get what I'm saying? This, and this. And then he'll recap it to me so we can be on the same page that he interpreted what I was trying to say to him correctly. Right? So how do you work your effective communication skills, Gary? Because you are a good communicator. I mean, you're just not shy about shit. You say what you say, and you say it when you say it.
Well, anybody that knows me knows that communication with me is paramount, right? Like, I've ended relationships because of that, right? Like, I don't play, because I think that it's very important that if, when it comes to a relationship, each person is supposed to understand each other, right? Now, I'm not saying everything needs to be perfect, but each person needs to understand each other. But with me, what I've learned in my adult life is that when it comes to communication, I have to make sure, one, what I'm saying, I want to make sure that the other person is interpreting it the way that I'm meaning it, right? Because sometimes what you may have in your head, what you're saying, and it's sounding to you what you're saying, and you're getting what you're saying, but the other person may interpret it differently. So this is where clarity comes in. Right?
Absolutely. Recapping.
This is where clarity comes in. Did you understand what I said? No, I didn't understand what you said. Okay, well, here's what then I would say it again or try to frame it in a way that you understand it, because it's important to have clarity, right? Because once you have clarity, then it makes it easier to respond. But see, some people, well, not even some people, most people don't take the time to really understand what they're saying and how they're saying it, right? And want to make sure that the other person receives it in the manner that they're saying it.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we have people that they want to talk, right? Like there's no regard, right? There's no regard. And I think that's a major problem, because if you have one person talking and there's no regard, and the other person is not getting what they're, is not receiving it the way that they're supposed to be or should be, then that's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And then Leanne said, isn't effective communication really about relaying feelings when in the context of a romantic or familiar relationship? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we have to recap what we say so we can make sure that we're interpreting the message correctly. But keep watching, Leanne, because I am going to touch on that, and you're on the right track. Absolutely. And then Wally came in, he says, salute. Thanks for coming, Wally. I really do appreciate you. And so here is some examples of effective communication, Gary. And the number one on that list is active listening. Okay? It's very important that you're actively listening to a person, because then what's the point? What's the point? Giving and taking feedback, empathy and respectfulness, responding to messages, having volume, clarity in the messages, understanding nonverbal data, building friendliness and confidence, adapting to your communication style according to your audience. You're not going to talk to a 15-year-old the same way you're going to talk to a 35-year-old. You have to change your style of communication so you can target the audience, so you can get them to listen. Go ahead, Gary.
So in you saying that, I want to bring up something, and I want people to understand this, and it actually touches on what you're saying. There are 7 personality types of men, right?
Yep, that we went over last week.
Right. So there are 7 personality types of men, and each of those men have a communication style. If you study them, there are 6 personality types of women, right? And you have to study, and you have to study what each of those personalities are, right? And what people have to do is they have to do the homework to learn themselves, to see where they fit in, right? Are they an alpha male? Are they a sigma male? Are they a gamma male? Are they a zeta male? With the women, are they a alpha? Are they an alpha woman, a sigma woman, a gamma woman, a beta woman? All these are these communication styles. And once you kind of understand where you fit, right, then you would know how to communicate with people. Me, I'm a sigma male. Right? So, and I didn't realize that till 10 years ago, right? I didn't realize it. So, but once I understood, I'm like, okay, this is me, right? Because communication with sigma males, that's paramount. Like that's, any type of relationship that we get into, whether it's business, whether it's personal, communication is paramount, right? So that is, so that's what that's one of the things that I identified with. So what I'm saying is that both men and women, they need to learn the personality types, who they are, and then the person that they're talking to. What type of personality type is that person, right? And it's not a bad conversation. I mean, you could have the conversation, if you're meeting, I don't know, if you're chatting online or if you're meeting in person, you may want to say, well, what type of personality type are you? More times than not, I'll tell you, they're going to say that they don't know, but then you could work with them to help to try to help them figure it out, so you know what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And then, Gary, there's multiple forms. There's different kinds of communication. Of course, we all know the most obvious one is verbal, in which you listen to a person to understand their meaning. Then we have written, in which you read their meaning. Then we have non-verbal, in which you observe a person's meaning. And then visual communication, the practice of using visual element to get a message across, inspire change, or evoke emotions. The transmission of info and ideas using symbols and imagery. And you know what? I tell women all the time, men are visual creatures. My second part-time job is working in a grocery store, and a lot of wives, oh, my husband bought the wrong thing. I said, ma'am, if you want him to be successful and bring you the things that you need, take a picture of the product. That would be, I mean, there's just, I think there's no room for a mistake. And Gary, if I send you a picture of a box of candy that I'm looking for, I think it's self-explanatory. Some men still get it wrong. You know, they don't check the box and they'll get 0 calories or sugar-free when she didn't ask for that. But the point is that we have to understand men. And yes, Food Channel, the link is there. I dropped it. I'll drop it in for you. Give me just 1 moment. Men are visual creatures. So the best way to communicate with them, when especially in that scenario of something or get something for you, take a picture of it. Take a picture of it. But back to this, Gary, verbal communication is the most essential form of communication with most interaction. But you know what's funny? It's the least that's being used nowadays. Why? Because of social media. Because we're not taught to communicate, especially face to face, thanks to the damn internet, texting, emailing, and all the informal ways of communicating. People nowadays, especially our young people, are freaking socially awkward. They really don't know how to just sit at a coffee shop and have a conversation. They don't. All they really know is how to text, how to email, sit behind a keyboard, and not really have heart-to-heart conversations. It's like we scared. We don't. Ooh, we're too fucking sensitive. I know if I come to Gary with something, either if it may be fucked up as bad as it is, he has made it a safe place for me to come to him and talk about that. There's a lot of you guys out there, especially women, who men have to walk around eggshells around y'all. They can't say anything without you popping off of the mouth or you giving them attitude, and then you wonder why they don't talk to you. Then you mad because they talk to the work wife at work or they talk to their homeboys. I mean, come on, you got to make it a safe place for a person to come talk to you about anything.
That's really right. Absolutely.
A person shouldn't have to pick and choose. Well, I can't talk to Gary today about that because he might just get pissed off. No.
I find it interesting, and this has happened to me a couple of times where actually I have a couple of female friends who are married.
Okay.
And they talk to me more than their husband. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're married, right? Well, I can't talk to him about that. He wouldn't understand. I'm like, he's your fucking husband.
Well, why wouldn't he understand? That's my thing. Why do you think that are you just assuming? And we're going to talk about that. Freaking assumptions. Are you assuming that he wouldn't understand, or you just really don't want to talk to him?
Well, see, that's
can you not talk to your husband?
Right now, that's something for them to answer. But I just find it, crazy that here it is, someone that you've taken a vow to, and you're married to, and you're living your life with, and you're having some serious issues and you can't talk. That's the person you're supposed to be talking to. But you're telling me that you can't talk to him? You're afraid, or he's not going to understand? What do you mean he's not going to understand? You're married to him.
But right? Gary, at the same time, has that husband made it comfortable? Has that husband made it comfortable for her to talk to? Like, I hate to say this, but sometimes I wouldn't talk to my ex-husband because he was very judgmental.
But see, this is my okay. So
I didn't feel comfortable talking to him about things. I would talk to my male best friend because he wouldn't judge me. You see what I'm saying?
Well, see, and this is where, see, so now going back, I think that, at least to me, when it comes to being married, that's a sacred thing. So, I mean, as if I was married and for my wife to go talk to, like, I have to be her, well, not, I am her safe place, right? If I'm married, I'm my wife's safe place. So she knows that no matter what happens, how bad it gets, how worse it gets, whatever she can come and talk to me. I'm not going to scream at her. I'm not going to yell at her. Let's come and talk, you know, well, let's talk it, work it out, or what have you. So I just find I guess I kind of struggle a bit to understand, like, how you married to somebody and you can't talk. This is the person you sleep next to at night in your bed, and you can't talk to them because there's a problem or there's an issue or you're afraid how they're going to react.
They're not going to understand.
Are they not going to understand?
I don't get it either, Gary. I mean, I can kind of understand because there were some things that I couldn't go to my ex-husband about. One, he either wouldn't, I know he wouldn't come up with a solution because he didn't know nothing about the topic. Two, he was very judgmental, so he didn't make it a safe place for me to come talk to him about certain things. So I would go and reach out to either professionals or friends. So I kind of get it.
But see,
but at the same time, that should have been resolved.
Right. But see, you said something important. One of the reasons why cheating happens, and sometimes unintentionally, the other man or woman makes it a safe place for the person to come and talk to. Right? So if that person makes it a safe place for you to come and talk to, then, you know, if something's wrong or something upsetting, this is the person you can call, this is the person you can talk to. And this is why, you know, now sometimes in the beginning, it's, it's innocent, but then as things go on, you're going to build a connection, and women are emotional. So you're going to connect with this person. Why? Because you feel safe. You feel emotionally safe.
Absolutely.
And that's just facts. Now, I know some people don't want to hear it, but that's just facts.
And I'm kind of blushing right now because I'm not used to this, Gary, but I appreciate the Cash App. I really do. You know, this is like one of my first ones, so I feel a little elated right now. Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Dixon. I really appreciate it. That's gonna go towards the laptop. Yeah, I can't even talk. Laptop computer fund. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. So the salute to you. Simon, how are you today? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Simon, are you there?
Sorry, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you tonight?
How are you? Salute, man. Salute. Hope you well. What's up, Gary? What's up, Embrace, man?
What's up,
nice
Simon?
Conversation, man.
So far, what you heard and what you've seen, what's your take on communication?
I think communication is really underestimated, especially within Black communities. It's really underestimated. The thing is we bank our bottom dollar on communication, but we get so messed up in the mix of everything. Like, our politicians, what do? Like, all day long, you just watch them on the TV screen, and what do? They're not out here doing tracks. They're not out here like running laps. They're not pushing weight. They're not doing the whole heavy construction industry thing. You just see them on the TV screen talking to you, and their whole game is about putting a message across and understanding the importance of the word. And the word is communication. And why do we lack in this area? Why do we have so many problems, issues? Because we have this whole thing about like vetting, but no one teaches us how to vet apart from what we hear on these YouTube streets. It's like email etiquette. Have you ever sent, look, have you ever, like, I'll put it this way. Have you ever set up an email address and just waited for the communication to come through without actually sending an email address to someone and making them know that that's an email address that they can get in contact with you with? Nothing flows like that. No river flows like that. So we just need to be a bit more aware of how we're communicating, because, you know, we take it for granted, we take it for advantage, we assume people are going to be the receptacle tunnel that just understands where we're coming from, and they don't.
Well, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I mean, it doesn't happen.
It's okay, Gary.
That's okay, brother.
It doesn't happen all the time like that. I think that even in a workspace or where you're working at, you still have to understand the type of people that you're dealing with. Some people are more outgoing. Some people are more introverted, you know, so you kind of gauge on what you can say to who and how you can communicate with that particular person. When you're in a relationship, you definitely, as I said earlier, you know, you have to find out what type of person your partner is, right? And once you find out what type of personality your partner is, each person has a personality style, and in that personality style, they have a way they communicate. Right? Now, it may work, it may not work, right? The other thing that I wanted to say, I think one of the problems that I've seen is that there's a lot of trauma, a lot of unhealed trauma that both men and women have had, whether it's them growing up or what have you, and that plays into a lot of the communication issues, you know, and clearly it spills over into your relationships, whether it's your personal relationships or whether your work relationships. But there's a lot of unhealed trauma, right? And that I think that is a major problem to the way people communicate.
So Gary, this one's for you. Leanne said, Gary, every time you say women are emotional,
here we go.
Men are not by default. I think that's completely wrong. Men just don't have the palate to apply their feelings to. Gary, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah. Oh man. So look, men, so
and how was screen to a blind person?
Women, okay, clearly we all know women are emotional. Men, and actually me and Leanne, we've had this conversation before. Men typically are more logical. Now, when we talk about men being emotional, yeah, men, you know, they you know, men cry, men get upset over things, but when it comes to certain situations, most men will react in a more logical manner, whereas women may tend to be, you know, act in an emotional manner. Watch her come back with something else.
Absolutely. And she also wrote here, she said, how does someone describe green to a blind person? And then she said, you knew I was coming for you. You know, yeah. And then she comes, Leanne, you should just get on the panel. She said, that's bullshit. Okay. And then she said, we are not wired any different. And then Wally came back and said, basically the majority versus the minority. Leanne, as a woman, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one. Women are built to be, men are emotional too. they have emotions, but we as women, we think with our emotions first, and men think logically. We may come back logically later.
Men and women are wired differently. Like, that's just the reality. That's just the reality. She doesn't want to believe that, but that's just the, men and women are wired differently.
And she said, how do I do that? And then Wally, come up, bro. Food Channel is asking Wally to come up, so he's welcome to come up anytime. And you should just come up, baby girl. And then she said, the order doesn't always.
She loves to debate
the end result. Hey, but that's what it is all about, is having a conversation, communicating.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, come get on the panel. All you have to do, you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. I'll send the link in there again, so you don't get cramps in your fingers. Hold on, I'll send the link again. Give me just a second. And then you just click on the link. I'll see you, and then I'll add you to the panel, and then you can right away click on stop cam, and it'll not put you on camera. It'll put you how Mr. Food Channel is on. You see how he's there, but he's not on camera. So let me just keep going, guys, because I have a lot of information to get out here. Not only is verbal communication the most essential, it's the most important. But to effectively have good verbal communication, again, and I'm going to bring it up, active listening is perhaps the most important part of effective communication, because if we cannot listen to the person sitting across from us, we cannot effectively engage with them. And that makes sense. You know, a lot of us half-ass listen to people, and then you want to get mad later. Well, why are we talking about this again? Well, didn't you half-ass listen last week when that person was trying to talk to you about this situation? You know, a lot of it is self-inflicted.
Most people don't listen. You know, they, just as you said, they half-ass listen or they tune out.
Or they're listening to respond versus to understand.
Yeah. Well, that's another major problem. You know, most people, they listen to respond instead of listening to understand, and then gauge their reply from what they understand, right? So they so quick to reply without even understanding something.
I hear you.
I missed
and I
the
have
last
to say
bit
that as it was. Hi, Miss Leanne. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Leanne, welcome.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for coming up to the panel. I'm not sure if you have a YouTube channel or anything.
I do not.
That's okay. Okay, so just go ahead and introduce yourself and go ahead and let's get in it, right? Right. What is your take on communication and everything we've spoken thus far?
Just basically, you know, we keep going on this premise that men aren't as emotional as women. They just emote their emotion differently. And yeah, are there women that are willy-nilly and just, you know, emotion drives everything that they do? I don't happen to be one of those people, but I also don't happen to be somebody who denies the emotion that I do have. And I, you know, yes, that is the initial first experience that I would have. But then I typically step back and sit with it for a minute, kind of analyze what's going on, what's the trigger, what is the, you know, is this fear, is this embarrassment, is this happiness, sadness? You know, happiness and sadness are secondary. And, you know, fear is a secondary emotion. It's always coming from some other driving force. But men typically have a very limited palette of 3 or 4 emotions. And I've had this conversation with multiple people I've been in a relationship with, where I make an assumption on the feeling that they are emoting to me as I perceive it. And then they tell me, well, I wasn't angry. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry that I assumed you were angry. All of the signs pointed that way. What were you feeling? And I'll be damned if any of them can ever answer it. And I'm like, you want me to guess the feeling that you're having or what it is that you're trying to portray to me, but yet you can't even tell me what it was. And that is something that I've run up
and get upset with
multiple times and get upset.
So, okay, let me see. As I said earlier, there's people, you have men and women that need to learn themselves, right? If you don't know
a lot of men.
All right. If you don't know yourself, how can you communicate effectively with somebody else? So a lot of these people, they don't know themselves in addition to whatever trauma that they've been dealing with.
But can you imagine that if we keep permeating this idea that women are emotional creatures and men are not, that somehow we never get to that feeling the man is trying to, share? Because they're not having to do the work to figure it out, because they're just stopping at women are emotional and they're not owning their own level of emotion.
Well, men do have emotion, but see, I think the way now, here is communicating, right? So the way I'm getting it is that it's coming across like you're saying that men are emotional just like women, right? Which that's
they're
not
emotional in not just like women, as in emotional in the way women are emotional, but they are as emotional as a human being as the next human being.
Of course, men have emotion, right?
Yes, right, but they don't process it and they don't understand what's going on. And typically,
men are not wired. Most men are not wired that way to deal with emotion. They're wired to be logical.
But that's presuming that emotion isn't logical. Yeah, you're saying that emotion isn't logical. That's like stupid. If your father dies and you're sad, that's a very logical emotion.
No,
if somebody is unhappy with you and treats you unfairly and doesn't give you the information and why they're unhappy with you, then you're frustrated or you're whatever. All those things are very logical. You're assuming that emotion isn't dictated by logic. That's not true.
No, emotion, things happen to make people emotional, right? And men, whatever a man is going through, he will be emotional. He will have his emotion dealing with whatever the situation, and more times than not, it'll probably be, in private, right? It'll probably be in private. I'm not saying that emotion is a bad thing, but more times than not, when it comes to emotional situations, women tend to be one way and men tend to deal with another way.
Meaning?
This is what I'm saying. Men and women are wired differently.
They may be wired differently, but the whole base of it's like...
Hold on, time out.
Go ahead, Grace.
Go ahead.
Time out, Leanne. Let me say thank you for your services, Jay. I know you are in the services, so happy Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for everything, and go ahead and introduce yourself and let people know where we can find you. And then your mind, I don't know how much you've seen the show, but let's get another perspective on there. I knew this topic was gonna be hot, Gary. That's why I told you, make sure you eat before the show, because we're gonna go at least 3 hours. What's up, Jay?
Yeah, what's going on with everybody? How the panel doing tonight?
What's up, bro?
We good.
Living a dream. Look, man, if y'all want to check me out, man, catch me over on Let's Talk with JVJ. It's literally the name right down there below, and you can find everything else after that. But I was just listening to the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes. So how do I say it? Is it Leanne?
Yes.
How you say it? All right. What are you trying to say? Women are better with communicating and dealing with their emotions?
No, I didn't say that. I said women are more practiced at dealing with their emotions. At no point did I make a judgment as to somebody being better or worse.
You think women are more practiced at dealing with their emotions?
They're more practiced at being emotional.
Oh, just they
emote differently. I mean, women, think about this. Who teaches kids? Kids are not wired to understand how they're feeling. They don't have the brain pathways to understand that fear is fear, or anxiety is anxiety, or stress is stress, or hunger, or any of those kinds of things.
What?
So women teach children.
They're not wired to know if they're hungry or if they're mad or they're scared.
No, hungry isn't an emotion. Hungry is a state of being. Kids don't understand. Why do you think 2-year-olds like cry at the drop of a hat? Because they don't get it. They don't understand that overload sensation. They can't put a name to the emotion. And women primarily are the ones that are there in those developmental stages and teach them what those emotions are. Like, I'm sorry, that must have hurt, or such and such took your toy. Like you give them a map to start understanding anger and frustration and discomfort and things like that. That's the task of most women in dealing with children. And that's boys and girls. They're all developmentally, it happens the same way. Now, somewhere in the middle of that, boys stop using that.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It's not only women that
We
do
teach them
that.
not to show emotion.
No, I'm not saying it's not all women. I'm just saying primarily.
What the point is. Like, what was the point of saying that? Like, what was the point of that?
What was the thing that you said before? Sorry, I have short-term memory issues.
You were saying that you said women are more practiced in their emotions.
They are more practiced in naming them and
way?
understanding that, the difference between frustration and anger and embarrassment and those kinds of things, or should be.
You don't
So men are not.
Yeah, I'm
Is that what
saying
he said?
A lot of times.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me say this real quick.
Maybe it's just the men you're dealing
No.
with.
That's what you all say.
I gotta really break this down. A lot of guys have the world thrown right into their face at an early age. They have to understand how the world is. So controlling their emotions and learning what their different type of feelings are, guys learn that at a very early age. Because it's not like, oh, you hurt your knee, you scraped your knee, oh, come here, baby, pat you on the back. No, rub some dirt on it and get up and keep moving. They have to understand how to process their emotions. Guys get that way sooner than girls do. So I'm trying to figure out what do you mean by that? Like, women are more.
I wouldn't say it's one thing or another. I wouldn't say it's one thing or another. I wouldn't say like more men and more women. I'm just saying. I would think that there are just different people out there, and if you're emotionally intelligent, you're emotionally intelligent. That's just fact.
Dudes are more emotionally intelligent than females.
Well, speaking of that, that is what next week's show is about: emotional intelligence. You see, Gary? Do you see how it gels all?
Of course.
That's crazy.
Well, there's actual neuroscience.
I think emotional intelligence is a learned behavior.
We can't. I just don't think we can do that. I don't think we could just put each other up against each other and go, oh, 50% of the men are like this and 50% of the women are like this, and that's just the way the world. No, because it don't stack up factually. It don't statistically. It don't stack up.
Break it down how it doesn't. Men are more logical.
What? So you tell me, bro, because you seem to have the ideology behind this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm asking you. Educate me. How does that work?
How does what work?
How is it that there are more people doing more things than other people? So you got 50% of women and you got 50% of men on Earth, right? And what? So you're saying basically that men are more intelligent. Emotionally intelligent in terms of they understand their emotions more than women.
We have to.
It's not a matter of have. I'm just asking you, statistically, how does that work out?
Statistically, how it works out, they have more men that manage their emotions better than women do. The only difference is when you want to point to crime statistics, women are not punished at the same level that men are. Sometimes when women do violent actions where they're losing their emotions and police just look the other way. You can see who hurts kids more. The people who are around the kids the most, which is the women. Like, you can look at the data and look at all of that and put it all together and understand that men have learned to control their emotions, because when a man is emotional and he's out of control, he can actually take lives. When a woman does it, she can take lives too. We're starting to see that a lot more now, but most people just brush that off. Oh man, she just crazy or something like that. Let a guy do the exact same thing, he needs to be locked up. Men have learned since the beginning of time, from a very early age, that they have to control their emotions. To control your emotions, you have to be in touch with your emotions. You have to know how you're feeling. More guys control their shit, because girls can go back and forth and catty talk shit about each other and do dirty things behind each other's backs. Men are more straight to the point. We know there's a line that you don't cross. We all emotionally know that, right? You don't see that with women. You can look at all the data you want.
Yeah, because for example, guys, me and Gary can get into an argument, and then we talk our shit, and then we could go have a beer at the bar like nothing ever happened. Whereas if I was to get in an argument with a woman, now she want to call her friend, she want to call her baby daddy, she want to make such a huge thing of a situation that could have been handled in-house. And I can talk about this because it's been a proven fact. When I get into it with a guy, it doesn't linger on. Sometimes it does if the guy is emotionally upset. But most men get over it. They just move on. They don't end friendship. They'll curse me out. They'll tell me how they feel, and then we move on. Now it's up to me to use my emotional intelligence. Am I gonna get in my feelings and be mad at him and cut off this friendship that we've had for years, or am I gonna take it in, marinate, sit in it, and grow from that? So, Leanna, I'm gonna have to agree with Jay, because we just tend to get emotional a lot over a lot of frivolous things, where men are at an early age. Do not show your feelings. Do not cry. Suck it up. Man up. You know, so when they come from an upbringing in that nature, it's very hard for them to learn how to communicate and how to show emotions. But yes, men are emotional. Sometimes I forget that they're emotional.
Yeah, let me chime in. Yeah, let me chime in here. I think that this new generation of young men, yeah, they definitely are a lot more emotional than the generation before. You know,
and why is that, Gary? Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of them were brought up by single mothers, right? So there's no male figure. Right?
There you go.
There's no male figure. You know, there's no male figure. So these guys are seeing how their mothers react to certain situations, and when you're living in that environment day in, day out, night in, night out, you're gonna take on some of those qualities, right? It's no different. When I was growing up, and I think I said this last week, my stepbrothers took after my stepdad. My stepdad was abusive to my mom, right? Verbally and physically abusive to my mom. My older and younger stepbrothers wind up abusing their wives and their girlfriends. I didn't turn out like that. You follow me? Because what they saw my stepdad do, which is their dad, they looked at that as that being okay, right? So that's a learned behavior, right? So with these younger guys, so with this new generation now, them coming up with these single moms and some of these single moms having attitudes. Now, let me just say this: there's some single moms out there that do an awesome job, and I know quite a few. But then there's others that, you know, they're on that ghetto shit, right? And you can't raise young men like that. And then when these young men get in trouble and stuff happen, and then, you know, then they don't know how to deal with conflict, right? You know, they so quick to act up and act out and retaliate.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. That's why we have so many young men socially awkward. Don't know how to have a conversation with females, don't know how to ask a girl out, don't know how to talk to them, and they lash out in so many different ways. But let me keep going to the information, guys.
Go ahead.
These forms of communication can take place in person, over the phone, or through various digital platforms. While the effectiveness of one's communication can vary, it affects your life in various ways, in your professional life, in your personal life, and in business. The more effective your communication you are, the more you will be good at your work, business, and personal aspect. So guys, communication and effective communication is a learned behavior. You have to learn. If you didn't learn at home, I mean, there's no excuses now. We'll Google anything nowadays. When I was doing my research for this, I couldn't believe just how much information you can learn. They have surveys and tests and workbooks and things like that to be able to become a better communicator. And then Grace said, how you doing, my dear? Thank you for coming. Women hold grudges and plot and scheme to retaliate, even if they just took something the wrong way. Exactly. Most men don't do that. Most men may get mad and may do something right then and there and then just leave it alone. But they don't continue the fuckery like most women do. But again, I could be wrong. I'm not perfect. I'm not a licensed therapist, and I'm not a certified psychiatrist, guys. That's a disclaimer I got to put out there. I am an expert in love.
We talking from our experiences. We talking from our experiences, and we sharing our experiences.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Are you going to go around the panel, because like you got a big panel up here, so I don't want to start interjecting all the time. So if I don't know if you want to make us speak one at a time, but I'm just saying, I mean,
if you have something to say, just say your point, and we'll move on. You know,
I'm just saying, like, you know, we can frame women in a certain type of way, but that's just based on our experience. Like, I've met a lot of women, and trust me, like, they are structured. They will tell you how things go. There are no problems. Like, that's how I got in a marriage in the first place. I was in a 10-year marriage, and even in leaving that marriage, there wasn't no problems. Like, people talk on these streets, oh, there's been a divorce, oh, someone want to come at you and all this nonsense. No, we're cool. Like, it's continuing. We have children. We get on. We co-parent without an issue. So I just think it's just like people's perspective in terms of what they've lived and how they're choosing and picking. But I guess the majority is what's being spoken on, and that's why I'm interested in the conversation.
Let me just chime in here. Like, listen, in my experience, and I've been fortunate to have traveled around the world. And, you know, you get some women act different, right? And I think that, you know, when you've traveled and you've dealt with women in different areas, you kind of see what's going on. For those people that have only stayed here in the States, you get to experience how men and women are here in the States. But when you go to other countries, you know, and you experience other cultures, you know, then you kind of see an interesting difference. So I think that when it comes to having an experience, you know, there are people that are going to have experience with people that are upstanding and have their stuff in order. Then you're going to have people that are going to have experience with people that are just dealt with trauma and don't know how to deal with it. Then you're going to have people that probably dealt with a hybrid of both, right? But I mean, I think it's you know, it's all experiences, but from my standpoint, I think that, you know, when we talk, and this is where these conversations and discussions are good, is that where we can share our different experiences, because Some things we may agree on, some things we may disagree on, but it's shared experiences. So when the viewers watch it, there's going to be somebody that's going to identify with something that one of us said, right?
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is like everyone at a certain age will experience some sort of trauma. I mean, you're talking about like a 5-year-old that's in the playground that bumped their head. That's like trauma, okay? Sometimes we take it to an extreme and then we go, okay, we're going to relate this to our relationships. And, you know, we get involved with somebody and we get that nice little feeling in us and we think that's going to be a forevermore situation. But then we don't want to deal with what happens when you're just dealing with the basics. Like someone just using a toilet, for Christ's sakes. We don't want to talk about the basics. Like someone just walking in your house and moving something you don't want to see moved, you know, because you've spent so long setting up that household and, you know, you've got this set up. It's like people get really personal and touchy and petty about stuff real quick. But the fact of the matter is, it's like we're human beings. You know, when are we gonna, you know, get past the thing to make our own person happy? Because it's not about other people when it boils down to it. When you're in your house with somebody, it's about you and that person. Like, but what we try to do is inflate that because we always got in our mind we're gonna have a conversation with somebody else, and we're gonna talk to them about our experience. We're gonna try and sort of go, okay, you're doing this over here, I'm doing this over here. How could, you know, what's the competition looking like? Do you get what I'm saying? We're trying to upstand ourselves and be the most best person. Like, that work. It don't work like that. It works in fashion, it works in music, it works in other areas of life where it's just like it doesn't really affect us directly. But you let someone into your house.
Well, see, look. I mean, with all those things, I mean, we are, you know, there are a lot of things out there that people can. Well, let me frame it like this: in pop culture, people want to be trendy, be the it person, be the influencer, you know, all that competition out there, and that's one thing. When we're talking about dealing with communication and dealing with relationships and someone coming into your house, I would imagine that if you let someone into your house, which is your sanctuary, that person would have respect when they come in your house, right? In terms of, you know, not, you know, you invite somebody to your house and then they come in your front door and they go straight and open up your fridge, right? Like, who does that, right? So
yeah. So what you're saying is the person that you let into your house is supposed to understand
the person. Yeah, you don't let anybody into your house. Listen, I don't let nobody. Listen, nobody. Anybody that knows me knows they can't come and knock on my door. I gotta know you coming. You gotta call. You have to tell me in advance that you're coming. You can't just come and knock on my door.
So you haven't had family members, sisters, brothers just show up?
Nah, I don't play that, bro. I don't play that. I don't play that. I don't play that. I don't play that.
Cousins, aunties, uncles just show up?
Nah, I don't do that, bro. I don't play that.
Okay.
I don't play that. Like, I got it. So I think that when it comes to, you know, your home is your sanctuary and you protect that, right? So you don't want to have people that's going to have bad energy coming in, because look, some family members are toxic and got bad energy. Some friends are toxic and got bad energy. You don't want them coming in.
Don't play JVG.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. Grace, I'm sorry.
I don't know what
Simon, me and Gary are great
That's
friends.
exactly what I'm talking
And I
about.
had to tell him a month ahead of time that I'm coming to New York. I'm not just gonna pop up on him. So
Am I the only one
what
that
it
has
is.
an
But guys,
overwhelming desire
You
to
know what
show
I'm
up at
talking about,
Gary's
bro.
door
Don't
right
do that.
now?
Yeah, you
Yo,
are,
man,
Liam,
take
because
your
I
shoes-
think
take
you've been
off your
trying to have this
shoes, bro.
conversation with Gary for years. You know? But let me get into these
feathers.
comments because they're piling
Go ahead,
on.
Grace.
House party.
Men know that they'll have to deal with the consequences of prison, and for the most part, would prefer not to end up there. Yeah, that's
Wow.
true. Braxton said the generational dysfunction passed down the L, and then Grace came back and said the only thing that can blind a man to the consequences of using his strength is the manipulation of a woman. And then Braxton came back and said, "Oh,
Hard.
y'all been busy on this typewriter."
That's hard.
It's
Better get
interesting.
to reading.
It's interesting how the mother mostly wants to take the reins, be in control, be the head, strong and independent, be both dad and mom, etc. But when the sons are some type of way, it's all the boys and the dad's fault. Yup, Braxton, I've seen that before. So you're absolutely right. And then, or it's because the father wasn't there, and when they didn't even want the father there in the first place. I've seen that a lot, Braxton. You're absolutely right. Now, if they do great and prosper in life, it was all them. But if they end up being fucked up and on the streets, it was the father's fault. Men are used to being roasted by other men, so they do way better at not taking things the wrong way. Women take compliments the wrong way. Yeah, you're right. You can't even tell a girl you look pretty today, and already they're in the HR for harassment. You know? So
that's an
men just don't say
overstatement. Come on
anything
now.
anymore.
Oh, Lord.
It's true. There's
Look at the woman movement they have. The Me Too movement. You can't even tell a woman something, and if they get in their feelings, they run into HR. It's real life, man. It's real life. Men are walking around tiptoeing nowadays.
Look, there are women like
Men are walking around on tiptoe, but how many years did women walk around on tiptoe because of the shit that was going on that started with the Me Too movement? If you really looked hard, hold on, calm down now. If you really looked hard at the shit that went down with Weinstein and how it was institutionalized, and they protected his ass and paid out 14 different people on their corporate dime to keep their mouth shut, that they had them sign NDAs that they weren't even allowed to have copies of after he raped women. We're not talking somebody being said that they're pretty. I'm not sensitive in that sense, and I'm not one of those women. I can hang with the boys, and I don't have a damn problem. I'll handle myself. But you cannot,
how many women set up the women for Weinstein? How many women were part
I know
of
what she's talking about. I know exactly.
Listen. Let me just.
I didn't have Me Too.
Hold on. Let me chime in here because I've been in the entertainment industry about 30 years, right? So, and I could speak, in dealing with that Me Too movement, right? And I could tell you that on one end, you do have men in the entertainment industry who take advantage of situations where if a woman's pretty and this guy is in a position to give her a record deal or put her on TV or put her in a movie, they're going to abuse that. I've seen this shit happen. But on the other end, you have women that if they feel that they could, let's say they could try to seduce a guy or try to get with him because that guy maybe is a manager or an agent or a movie person, right? And she's doing that to get something from him. But if he doesn't respond the way that she wants to, then she's going to yell rape. I know that because it happened about 25 years ago. It happened with me, right? So I know how conniving women can be, right? So I'm just saying on both, there's, what we have to understand is that there are men who do take advantage of women in the entertainment industry. But then there are also women who will use their seduction and sex appeal. If they know you have some type of power or clout, they're going to use that to try to get you. And if you don't respond the way that they want, then all of a sudden it's rape.
And that's what we don't talk about enough, Leanne. We always talk about what men do.
No, I get it. But the reason I reacted to that is that we have to be very careful about creating really broad strokes. And I realized that when I was talking what I brought up to you, Gary, when I'm saying that, men don't this, there is a real applicable issue with identifying specific emotions in my experience. But when you make a broad statement that women are emotional, it becomes a very discounted or a dismissive type of statement. And so I think that we need to be very cautious in the terms that we use and the way that we use them, because I don't think that you're trying to be dismissive in what you're saying, but because it's been fodder for so long, women are so more emotional than men. That's just an immediate
women
discount.
are more emotional than men.
No, they're not. They just express it differently. That's
well, right. I know.
At the drop of a dime.
And see, here is communication at work. So I understand what Leanne just said, because now from what I was saying, she took it and kind of, I guess from what she just said, she doesn't feel I was being dismissive when I say women were emotional, which I wasn't. Like, I'm just saying that because of how men and women are wired, women tend to be more emotional. And in me saying that, I'm not saying that to be to negate it or be dismissive.
But it becomes society in society's view a dismissive.
Yeah, that's what I was
can't
thinking the same
disregard that.
thing. I was thinking the same thing.
Can I say something real quick? Like,
Of course.
this is clown world stuff. You literally, Miss Leanne said earlier that women are emotional creatures. Then you turn around and told Gary we need to be careful about saying women are emotional. You literally said women are emotional creatures earlier.
No, he said that women are more emotional than men.
They are more emotional than men.
No, they just express
That
it
is
more
a fact.
often, more freely than
well,
men do.
that is the
Because you guys
action
turn
of
around and
being
say the same
emotional.
thing, and you're saying that men have emotions, but we hide them.
Yeah, we do. We control them.
But
No,
you don't.
You don't control them.
But you don't.
just lock
That's
it
why
away.
more men abuse, why more
That's
men
a form
shoot,
of
why more
control.
men like that. But it all bubbles up in the end. That form of control doesn't
not
work.
necessarily, man. We have different ways of getting our frustration out. We got dudes that go to the gym. We got dudes that go play sports. We got dudes that find hobbies to get their frustration off. Like, don't sit here and act like dudes. If that was the case, then 100% of the murders would be all men.
But see,
It's
that's
not,
what you're
right?
zeroing in on the frustrated emotions. What about the emotions of
Men are
like
never gonna be
liking
women.
attention?
No. Stop trying to make men be women. We're not.
I'm not
women.
making men be
No,
women.
you're trying to talk about why men don't do
See?
things that women
See?
do. That's what women
see,
do.
it's
That's
what,
what
why
women
is it a
do.
threat to masculinity
No,
for a man to have
because you
emotions
can't
that
bring
aren't
that
anger?
nonsense
or
up.
You can't
frustration?
redirect the
That's
conversation like
That's
that, bro.
No, brainwashing. You're trying to tell men to start attributing.
No, it's just an
feelings and
opinion.
emotions of that women do. You can't.
It's just
tell
an
a man-
opinion.
It can be her opinion, and let her have it. And I'm about to have mine right now. You can tell men all damn day long to express the emotions that you want them to express because you express them. But that is not what makes a man a man. Just like we don't tell y'all to express the emotions that we have because we don't.
So
want
not
y'all to
having
be
emotion
men.
makes a man a man.
The
What makes
way
a man a
men
man
are-
exactly?
look, you
Explain,
think there's
enlighten me, please.
You think there's an issue with men not expressing their emotions? You're saying that women are more in touch with their emotions, pretty much, right?
I just repeated what you said that
I'm
men.
asking you that question.
She didn't say it was an issue.
I'm
Just-
asking her that question, yes or no? Is that what you're saying?
Rephrase your question so I'm clear.
Are you saying that women are more in touch with their emotions, yes or no?
I think women are more in touch with the spectrum of emotions that they possess.
So
Yes.
women are more in touch with their emotions, right?
I said women are more in touch with the spectrum of emotions
I don't know
that
what
they
that means.
possess.
I don't know.
That means that there's
You
more
don't- you
feelings
don't know
than
what that
anger
means.
and sadness.
She trying to
and
say
anger.
every emotion that's on the spectrum of emotions, women are more in touch with all of them.
Yes,
that what you're
I can
trying-
identify my emotions more specifically than most men.
Okay, you can identify them. Can you control
That's
them?
natural.
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, I don't believe that. Women are more emotional because they act out and there are no consequences to them acting out. We see it on a day-to-day basis in society, whether it's your
I don't
life-
act out.
Okay, you call it what you want. Maybe you see other women do it. Maybe you're the exception to the rule. Who cares? But
No,
women
it
do
has-
not control
but it's
their
not a
emotions
rule.
better.
That's the point.
Men have always been in touch with their emotions. We just understand that we can express ourselves. Let a man come. He go. You telling me he go? You got a 6 foot tall man that's going out there chopping wood. You got a 6 foot tall man that's crying on your lap. Which one you want?
It's probably the same man.
No, it's not the same man. See,
Oh,
no.
okay. Why wouldn't it be?
Why can't it be both? I could chuck wood
Why
and
wouldn't
do
it
that
be?
shit. What are you talking about?
That
Look,
same man,
I
I'm
didn't-
telling
I
you,
wanna
he
ask you
runs
something,
his
Fred.
back.
One
dropping
thing or
on
another.
his
What are you
shoulder.
talking
I'm
about?
gonna be balling in my lap.
He go, how old are you, Fred? How old are you, my guy? The guy that sounds like he got like a British accent. I can't see your name because Grace got.
How old am I?
Yeah, how old are you?
How old are you?
I'm just asking, how old are you?
How old are you?
I'm 33. How old are you?
I'm 10 years your elder.
10 years, so you're 43. Okay.
Yeah.
You said that you were married and you got kids, right?
Right?
Who filed for divorce?
Me.
You filed for divorce. Why did you
Yeah.
file for divorce?
Because the lady that I was with was not in a position to actually carry on doing her duties.
Like, what do you mean?
She had a really bad birth, and as a consequence,
Man,
she
what?
suffered bad birth, and as a
Birth.
consequence,
Birth. Okay.
and as a consequence, she suffered postpartum depression.
So she just mentally she wasn't there anymore.
That's what happens, bro. You don't
No,
know
I'm
what
just
that
saying-
is.
I'm just
Are you
asking.
married? Have you ever been married?
Yeah, I was married before, but I was just.
All right,
asking.
so
I'm not trying to-
look,
I'm not trying to
I'm just saying, like, if a woman has a child, and this is the thing most of these men on these panels don't talk about, because they don't understand what childbirth is.
Mhm.
And the fact of the matter is, you know, although she's going through whatever she's going through right now, I give her all my blessings. I have no control of her situation. I have no control of what has happened, and she does not have any control of what's happened. But people just want to like run around here and lay down seeds and think that's okay and that's cool. But the fact of the matter is like, you know, I can only give her blessings because she's blessed me with a daughter, and my daughter's everything to me.
No, I understand. That's beautiful. But I'm trying to say, you said you divorced her because she went into postpartum.
Yeah,
Why would you divorce her when she's going through a hard time like that?
because it's not a hard time. What it is she became a risk to our child. What do I mean? She started acting out because she was not in control of herself. She had a blood transfusion, and as a result of that blood transfusion, she started acting like a different person. And if you actually look into this shit, what you would find is this is not uncommon, but it's just unspoken of. Like most women who have cesarean sections and blood transfusions are given blood from people that are unrelated to their own blood type. So what happens is they start acting like different people, and this is a problem within our society in general.
So you divorced her for the safety of you and like the kid.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna knock you on that. But if that's the case, and you saw that something could possibly happen, a chemical imbalance could happen inside of the woman that you were married to, and you can see how she couldn't handle the emotions that were coming from that. You could say the blood changed her into a different person or something like that.
Couldn't handle. That's a very thin line, man.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Look, bro, like women and men are not. Look, if you turn around and let's say broke your leg, right? Yeah. And like they said, okay, we're gonna replace your leg, but we're gonna put someone else's leg on your foot, right? Your left or right foot. It's not gonna be the same thing. And from there on in, you're gonna be a different person.
It's not even close to being the same comparison.
What? So look, what? So what's the comparison? It's the same. It's the same. Look, yo, if you all right, let's say you had a car crash, okay? Yeah. You ran through the damn window screen like DOC, right? And like as a result of that, you had a laceration which was like 9 inches long, and you lost like 2 liters of blood, right? And they had to do a blood transfusion on you. Where do you think that blood's coming from?
From another person, clearly.
Exactly. Now, who's that? Is that a criminal? Is that a crazy person? Like, what's their DNA? Like, you don't know. Like, so what happens is they pump all this blood into you. They pump all this blood into you.
This sounds like some X-Files shit.
No, but this is real. This is my I've never heard of this. My real life. This
The
is my real
murderer's
life.
blood made me change.
Wally told them, man. Like, this is why me and Wally had discrepancies, because
But look, that
me
might
and
be
Wally
like
were tight, but it's just there was stuff.
0.000000.
There was stuff
It's gotta
going
be-
on.
That's got to be like one of the rarest things in the world to be like.
Yo,
got
you don't
blood.
even know me like that. I'm telling you, this
I'm
is
not
just
telling
nothing.
you,
I'm not
like,
saying it in a bad way. I'm
All
just
right,
saying.
guys,
this is
can we
not-
stick to the topic? This is about
Yeah.
communication. We are totally off track.
we
So
can-
let me.
No, but this is
let's-
communication. We're talking, and this is the facts. Like, we need to
I
have real
understand, but we're
conversations.
talking about
Okay,
things
okay,
that is off
listen.
topic.
All right, now let's.
He asked me a question. I'm answering it.
All right, cool.
Communication.
So,
It's gonna be a show I'm gonna have to do.
all right. So listen. Let's circle back to Grace, so Grace can continue the show.
I appreciate
Okay, so Grace said, we are now reluctant to believe women now, which is worse for those that are telling the truth. And she was talking about this right here, which makes a lot of sense. The Me Too movement is the worst thing that could have happened to our nation. Now we have men in prison over the lies and manipulation that women get away with. And I
This is
and
what
I
I'm
agree with you.
And that's what I was saying, because it was, I can tell you from being in the entertainment industry, there are men who definitely abuse their status and their power, right? In whatever position that they're in. But then there also, you have women who will use their sexuality and flirtatiousness and what have you, because if they know that you're a man that's in some type of position of power that could get her in a movie or in a TV show or modeling or a record deal, and if she feels she could use her sexuality to kind of advance that with you, but if you turn her down, then all of a sudden it's rape.
Yeah.
All those things are true and do happen, Gary, but the difference that I'm talking about is institutionalized, and where the whole what it was, the Miramax, is that what it was?
Yeah. Look, I know the whole story.
Right.
I know the whole story.
But Miramax stood behind him and covered his ass in
Well,
multiple situations that were habitual. And that woman that's going and using her sexuality against one person, I'm not saying that's right or something that should be done or shouldn't be punishable. Absolutely. But it's not institutionalized. There's not some movie studio that's paying all the bills for the woman who's trying to get this job. It's like dealing with, when you have an institution that supports the actions, it becomes an entirely different crime.
Well, what you have, listen, and I hear and completely understand what you're saying. When you have these entertainment companies, these entertainment studios, a lot of them do that, right? They'll cover, if it's one of their corporate executives, they'll try to cover for them, right? And clearly that is wrong. But if it's a company that makes a lot of money and they have a bunch of investors, they need to protect the interests of the company, unfortunately, right? So, so it's
the interest of the company over the safety of the employees. I mean, we're talking, there were women that were 30 years ago that were simple, help.
Why not bring it up 30 years ago? Why wait 30 years later?
A lot of them did, and they were all met with payoffs and NDAs that they were not allowed to.
Did they take the payoffs? Then they shouldn't have took the payoffs.
They weren't really given much of a choice. They all tried to go to the police.
It's okay, and in the entertainment, and I'm not defending. I'm just telling you what it is, right? And I'm not saying that it's right, right? But what happens is they're going to protect the company, right? They know, as long as Hollywood's been going on, right? As long as Hollywood's been going on, this stuff has been happening.
But
so
what
now,
we're saying is they're going to protect the men for the sake of the
they're
company.
always going to do that.
Where is the institutionalized protection of women?
But
it's the same with our parents, to be fair.
Here's the thing. So it's when something happens, the right thing to do is to definitely go to the cops or go to the police, tell them who, what, where, when, why. But most of these women are not going to do that because they don't want to get blackballed. They don't want to ruin their reputation. This is the entertainment industry.
It's like our parents.
Right?
They're not going to go to the cops either.
Right. So they don't want to go. They don't want to go do. They don't want to do that. Right now, some of these companies, yeah, they'll do the NDAs, they'll do the payoffs, and all of that. Right. So they can protect the corporate executive, and the company. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing, but that's just the nature of the business or what they do.
Or the nature of the family.
Okay, but that's the thing. Because it's the nature of the business, it doesn't make it right. And
I never said it was right. I never said it was right.
That's the premise of the Me Too movement. Yes, could it be perverted and can it get taken too far? Absolutely. You know, I'm not one that's been somebody that blows a whistle. I'll handle my own shit, and I don't have a problem having, you know, I don't operate on that sense of you know, I don't use my sexuality for advancement. There's a lot of women that don't participate in that level. In the same way, there's lots of men that don't. We can't judge everybody.
On the other side of the token, you have 1 in every 3 men of taking care of kids that don't even belong to them because of all the paternity fraud that women do. You have child support courts that are favored to women, and you have men going to prison for not paying child support, and then come to find out that it's not their children. I mean, it's fucked up in every situation for men and women. But you have to understand, Leanne, that hold on, let me finish. You have to understand that this channel, I advocate for men. I'm not going to talk here about women because we've been blaming men for all the fuckery for years. And my objective on this channel is to turn the mirror on women and take accountability, because there's a lot of things that us as women that we do that are wrong. And we out here always sitting and blaming men for our problems, for our situations, our traumas. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. You know, we women have to take accountability for a lot of the things that we do.
I get what you're talking about.
I just wanted to put that out there.
No. The funny thing is like, I'm one of these guys that are out here that have literally gone through that. I literally had to, by myself, find my child who was abducted for 6 months by a woman, go through the court system by myself, go through divorce, and stand up and take my child and put her in my household. Now, the funny thing is like, most men out here who are screaming out what you're talking about don't even want to hear that sort of stuff. They don't want to hear how to actually go through it. They're not calling me up or emailing me and going, "Oh, Simon, how did you get through that?" When I'm the guy that actually did it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm over
Simon,
here.
I
appreciate what you're talking.
But you don't get a gold star for doing what you're supposed to do. You're her father. You're supposed to do what you just did. Mother's been doing it since the start.
I don't want a gold star, but I'm just saying that's why I'm here. So don't think that I'm over here because I'm trying to advocate women.
I know that, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm advocating men.
Did, but women
men don't necessarily. Yeah, but that's the contradiction. Men don't actually want to hear it.
That's not true. There are men.
You're talking to the wrong men.
See, there are men out there. There are men out there who are stand-up guys who do take care of their kids. And I could tell you 2 situations that I know personally. One was an old business partner of mine where he was making excellent money, could put his kids through private school, all of that shit. Went to the courts. The courts gave him hell. The guy was making like $1 million a year. The mother was a drug addict. All the money that he spent on lawyers, they couldn't get the kids, his kids. You know how he got his kids? She came to his office one day and was like, I can't take care of them anymore. You take them. They were 5 and 6 years old. If you would have saw how she brought those kids there, you would have been crying. Right? That's how he got his kids. So what I'm saying is that the court system here, it's not, even if you're a man of means, they still gonna give you shit, right?
Yo, bro, I'm a lawyer in practice, okay, and I had to become that just to get my kid back. So I know what you're talking about.
So you get it.
I know what you're talking about.
So
yeah,
so
of
you
course.
get it.
But
So
I'm
you
just
get
saying, most men, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying most men, although we can advocate for this sort of stuff, they don't listen. Like they're like, oh yeah, I'm going through these problems, I'm going through this, that, the other. But you know, no one wants to pick up a book. No one wants to sort of listen to the people that are actually talking about it. You know, they're just like, oh, I just want to go through this trauma. People love trauma. People love drama, and that's evident based on like what we see.
All men, you could say maybe most men, but there's good fathers out here. There's fathers out here fighting for their kids. There's fathers. I mean, there's a National Fathers Association.
Yeah, but what does that? Okay, there's a National Fathers Association. What's their baseline on what they do, and how come, like, you know, it makes no sort of movement with anything? There's a movement out here, Fathers Fight Justice. There's a guy that actually climbed Big Ben, like stood on Parliament, like in a Batman suit, and it was on the national news, and you can Google this shit. Like, and it's like, we as black men and men in general, like, if you're having a problem with a woman, you don't get seen. Like, no one, it's like one day it's 30 seconds on the TV, that's it. It's like, then it's on to the next thing. You know, like, so it runs real deep when it comes to sort of like the thing of, look, I got like, this is my first daughter that I've got, like, as a father that I have to look after. I've got 2 other children before that. And don't think I ain't been through some madness with that. And Wally knows, because Wally knows me. But I'm just saying,
so
like,
now with that being said, Simon, so now we have to look at you and the choices of women that you're picking, because it seems like every woman you have a child with, you're having an issue. So now we gotta look. I'm looking at you. Are you vetting the women? Are you taking more time? I mean, we cannot just put all the blame on that one person or the wife or the mother. I mean, we have to take accountability for our choices as well.
Really?
Like,
okay,
right here, Simon, I'm looking at something that says here, father involvement programs for organization. This National Center for Fathers, for Fathering, fathers.com. I mean, there are programs here. Men are trying to make a change. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, men have been beat down for so long that they've become silent, weary, and tired. But it's a long fight for them, because the courts make money off of child support. That's why they keep that child support. Their point is to break up the family since the 1960s and the Jim Crow's day. They don't want the family unit. The government makes more money when they keep the man and the woman separate, and the woman fell for it. The government is their daddy.
Yeah,
you know what
and
I'm saying?
this is the thing. Like, women ain't making progress. It's not really the men that are not making progress. Women are not making progress. In terms of, you know, there are not many women out here like you, for example. So, you know, if we had 1,000 of you, maybe we'd be in a better position.
That's like sitting here right now.
Look, we have the National Association of Honorable Black Fathers. I mean, there are men trying. It's not going to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. But like your story, if you want it to be heard by the right audience, you need to contact these organizations so your story can be heard, can be put out there, and you can show them how you got your kids and what you went through. But to say that men are trying or not listening.
Can I get in here?
Yeah, go ahead,
Wally. Again.
Yeah, so I think I know where Simon's alluding to, because there was another brother I know out here on YouTube that was talking about his situation as a father, trying to get his control of his kids, and he talked about the process. I think that's what Simon's talking about, the process. Men are not trying to understand the due process of how to try to get their kids to be able to effectively to combat what's being done to them. So the guy that I knew, he was talking about what he had to do. Everything had to go through the information that he had to look up and research and get. He did, and remind you, he did this solely without no lawyer. He just looked up the information, understood the due process, understand what he needed to show up with, and he won his case and got his kids. So I think that's what
right.
we're aiming
More
for.
men need to be that. More men need to take the initiative. But a lot of times it does take money for an attorney. Most people don't have
but that's
money.
what I'm saying. This guy went out solo.
And he's admirable for that. And you're right. We do need more men to take more action. You don't just sit here.
I had to do the same thing. That's why I started studying. That's why I studied law in the first place. It was like I didn't want to study law. The fact of the matter is you know, I was in a position, and it was just like, God damn, do you get what I mean? It's like, what am I going to do? Because I knew what the family court system was, and what this is lean towards women. And what I saw when I went into it was just that. Like, people were telling me that all day long. I was like, okay, people be talking this trash, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yo, if like throughout the whole 2-year process, all of the judges were female. All of the district judges were female. All of the circuit judges were female. And all of them had the same opinion that this woman was in a better position to take care of our child. Where is she now? Where do you think she's now?
I don't know. Prison? Facts.
Right? Now, I didn't cause that. I didn't do anything to do anything about that. And I had no encouragement in that. So, you know, it was just a matter of, yo, you just ain't believe me from the outset. You want to have your opinion, that's cool. But it's just so leaned towards this.
It's a long, hard fight.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because, you know, if you look at the industry, administration is built on femininity.
What?
Academia
Explain
is
that.
built. Academia is built. What do you mean? Explain that. What kind of job?
Okay, I think we're getting off topic here, but I think that's a great topic. No, seriously, that's a topic for another show, because I could go deep into that.
Simon.
God damn,
I could go deep into that there. But
we're not communicating, but we're not talking about communication. Let me get to these comments, okay? Grace said, how many men deal with SA but are ashamed, sexual harassment but are ashamed to speak up? Women have used this bullshit Me Too movement as a weapon to shut men up. Yes, I would agree with you. Women are way more emotional. Men get the fuck over stuff quicker. Okay, Grace, I feel you. Braxton said guys and chicks are both emotional too, but guys usually have to go about it a certain way. I would even put in the word a different way. That's what I would say. And then let me keep going because they're piling up here. Hold on. It says here. Come on, don't get stuck on me now. Give it just a second. It says here, men's emotions are conquered by logic. And we, for the most part, will think things through. That's what Black on Both Sides said. And then Wally said, control equals the power to influence or direct people's behavior or course of events. Then Grace came back and said, controlling his emotions makes a man a man. And by the way, next week we're going to be talking emotional intelligence. So tune in for that one. That should be a good one too.
That's going to be a great show.
Guys, right? Guys do also care about emotions. Don't get it twisted. Yes, they do take it into consideration. And then Wally came back and said, control equals take into account an extraneous factor that may affect results when performing an experiment. Okay, Wally, we've got a thesis over here. Sure. I love it. I'm loving it. And then Grace. Okay. Go ahead.
No, finish.
You want to chime in on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
I'm all done with the. I mean they.
So
Women
I was
react
gonna
in emotions with logical thinking and never know that they really want. How is that controlling one's emotions? Okay, Gary, go ahead. I'll stay on this on a couple few.
All right, so what I was gonna say is that I think where the misunderstanding or maybe the miscommunication with some men and some women is that yes, men are more logical and we look at things from a more logical standpoint, even if it's, you know, an emotional situation. Now, I think with women, you know, especially if it's in a relationship dynamic or setting, they, you know, at least from what I've heard, is that they don't feel that their emotions is validated, right? So, and I think that that's where I guess that's where the misunderstanding or the rift or the divide comes in, because women want to feel that their emotions is validated because they're feeling, you know, because they're feeling a certain way. They want it, so they don't want their emotions discarded or thrown away, which I completely understand that. And any woman that I've dealt with in the past, I've always been one to say that, look, I hear and understand how you're feeling, and I'm not taking away how you feel, because I'm not in a position to take away how you feel, right? So, but what I'm saying is that X, Y, and Z, here is how I'm looking at this situation. Here's the logical way I'm looking at the situation. Now, in me looking at it that way does not take away from how you feel. And I understand how you feel, and I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling that way. I think some women feel that a man feels she's wrong for feeling a certain way. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where the disconnect or the misunderstanding comes in with a lot of women.
I can agree with you. And then Grace came back and said, Victor at Simon Hectic, victimizing people to excuse their bad behavior doesn't hold anybody accountable for their bad behavior. And FYI, I went through the same thing as your ex did in birth. Most women go through postpartum depression. I am so sick of hearing men and women both excuse the bad behavior of women on some victim mentality BS. Grace is going in. Grace is going in hard today.
She's going in.
Grace also said women were stronger, going through the same things with less medical assistance, and still did what they were supposed to do. Back then, they didn't have epidural. They really didn't. And then
I love Grace.
Braxton came back and said, way back in the day, guys showed their emotions by throwing fists, being ticked off, being protective, showing up, being present, and that was their way of saying, hey, I'm in love. I'm here for you. True. I would agree with you on that. Then Grace came back and said, let's put it this way. A man can and often gets punished for sexual harassment. A woman lies and gets away with it, period. Absolutely. And it happens a lot, and it happens too many times. Remember the show we did about how the 31-year-old woman got pregnant by a 13-year-old, and she didn't even get jail time. Let that have been a 31-year-old man.
Well, actually, she did get jail time. She just got like 30 days or 45 days.
Oh, yeah, because her sentences happened in May a couple of weeks ago. But let that have been a 31-year-old man that did that to a 13-year-old girl. No. And then Wally said, Grace Neary, basically. And then Grace came back and said, and this is coming from a woman, so bet I know how women move. Quit victimizing bad behavior. That's why we're in this mess. God damn it, Grace.
Alrighty then.
She said exactly. Then Grace said exactly 100%. Thank you, Grace. That must have been my little rant
Grace, come up,
that
man.
I had. So then hold on. I think right. Okay, I'm back in my place. She said, in all due respect, Simon, did what you did in UK, America is a whole nother level of BS head on against men. You're absolutely right.
I'm international, man. Don't
Amen
worry
to that.
about that. I'm international.
Yeah, but us Americans have to deal with American law. You know,
That's,
black on
yeah,
both sides
I mean,
says it's so rare.
I've had this conversation over and over again, and the fact of the matter is like in law, it's just about jurisdiction. It's not really about your country. I could go to Saudi Arabia and like I'll be talking to somebody about the same shit. So like I get where you're coming from, but it's not all that. Like, and I think that's a future forward conversation because, you know, at this point in time, we've just been like engaging on a basic level, and I think a lot of people have been like making it go over their head. But what we're going to find is we all benefit each other overall, because there's going to be some things that's going to happen, and we're all going to have to pull together, like one way or another.
And that's why we're here, Simon, having these conversations and hoping to become better versions of ourselves. And then Black on Both Sides said it's so rare for a man to win custody unless there are extreme cases. Simon's situation is an outlier in the Western world. Again, yeah, it's very rare that men get custody of their child.
Let me just chime in quickly. So another friend of mine, his name is Damon Dash. He was Jay-Z's partner in Rockefeller. When Rockefeller was at his height, Damon was going through a court battle here in New York City for his daughter.
I know Jay-Z.
He was a multimillionaire. Do you know the judge gave him shit?
Yo, like, he had 8 lawyers, bro.
So listen, like I was like he was. You know, I talked to him a couple of times with that, and it was like the judge, the court, like the amount of shit that they had him go through, and like he could have, like, he was a multimillionaire. So the court system here, when it comes to women and their kids and dads, like the court system more times than not. Like 99% of the time, unless you got it like that, they're gonna side with the mother. Yo,
listen, I'm just saying for a second, like I understand what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about because, you know, I'm from the music industry. So when you're talking about Jay-Z, like we go back to Brooklyn and we go back to, like we go back to like
I came up with all of them.
Stuff. I'm telling you, like, bro.
I came up with all of them, so I know the stories, bro.
Like, yeah, so like we had to get to a point where we understood that we had to have lawyers in place, and this is where I came to law. Like, so Jay-Z's whole thing was like, I've got to get lawyered up, and that's when Russell Williams came to Jay-Z because Def Jam was going through certain things.
I remember that.
Yeah. He was like, you've got to check this label because you're in the best position to do that. That's when all that crazy stuff started happening between Nas and the rest of them. Like, what's his name? DMX. And and then DMX pulled that all. Yeah, so I ain't gonna go into that right now, but I'm just saying.
That's another
conversation.
So Grace, okay, Grace. All right, Grace.
Finish the comments. Then Grace said, "Oh my God, why do people on the panel keep making it personal? We are speaking on the BS in general happening." And then Braxton came back and said to me, "I'd embrace the grace. You know that in the East Indian, Pakistani, Bangladesh, Arab, Sri Lanka communities, the women will check other women harder than their man will, and their man barely says anything." And yeah, I agree with you, Braxton, because here, women don't check other women. And I have made it a point to normalize calling out bullshit on their bad behavior in public. Now, I do pick and choose my battles wisely. I don't just do everything. But when I see something going down that's not right, I'm calling it out. And we need to do that more to women. But we got this goddamn women code, and it's bullshit. It really is. And I'm not going to put up with nobody's bad behavior. I don't care if you're a woman, male, transformer, Martian. I don't care. If it's bad behavior, it's bad behavior, period. Then let me see. There's just so many of them. And then they start doing such here for real. Yeah, you're right, Grace. And women like you and me and Shalakemia and Crimson Cure and Pink Lessons and all these other women on the YouTube. I met another wonderful woman this weekend. Oh, you know, I talked to that lady you told me to watch on Instagram. I actually talked to her yesterday. I was live on her show and we exchanged numbers. So we're going to be working together.
Excellent.
Yeah, every lead you give, I follow up on it. And then Braxton came back and said something. Hold on, guys, gotta load. It's a lot. A lot of comments missing. So Braxton said, what I learned from Angry Man is if your woman committing domestic violence against you and y'all have kids together, you have her arrested and you file for full custody at that very moment or the following day. Yes, but then I can hear Simon in the background saying not enough, and I get it, Simon. I interpreted what you were trying to communicate, that not enough men are doing that, and I agree with you. But I don't agree with you that no man is doing it. But I totally agree with you. A lot of men are not doing it. Why? Because they're discouraged. They don't have the money for lawyers. They don't have the knowledge. That's why it's important, Simon, that men like you who have been through it, tell your story and give men that knowledge. You know, so I kind of half agreed with you. And then Braxton said, Grace Neary, ain't that the truth? And then Braxton came back and said, dang, this is my first time hearing of this organization. I just learned something new this evening. See, Braxton, drop that cash out. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent. So
knowledge. Go ahead.
That's what, hey, we definitely, you know, we are here to educate our viewers. We want them to definitely leave with whatever knowledge and information that we give them, because we want to empower our viewers to be better versions of themselves. So I just wanted to
Gary, go ahead, finish your thought. Finish your thought.
So I just wanted to circle back to the communication where I think that in this day and age, you know, clearly we know about, you know, we have the texting, like there's all these apps, right? So we can text on our phone, we can do WhatsApp, we can do Facebook, you know, and I think that if you're in a relationship, for those people that's doing long distance relationships, or even if you're in the same city, I mean, I think that, or even if that person matters, right? Even if that person matters to you, and if there's a misunderstanding, you know, you have apps, on Facebook, you could video chat, right? Mm-hmm. You could video chat. On WhatsApp, you can video chat. Mm-hmm. On WhatsApp, you could leave actual messages, long voice messages. Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, I was on WhatsApp when it first started, when you had 50 seconds, right? So now, I mean, now you could leave like a 20-minute voice message on WhatsApp. But my point is that now with these apps, there's no reason for people not to have effective communication, right?
There's no excuse.
Right, there's no excuse. Hey, let me video chat. Let me video chat with you so we could talk. So I want to see how you're reacting, or at a minimum, let me hit, like, I'm going to send you a voice message so you can hear what I'm saying, because texting is so, in my opinion, fucking impersonal. That's so impersonal. So if the person matters to you, you at least should be able to send them a voice message so they can hear you the inflection in your voice, how you're sounding, because it'll, you know, it'll come across more authentic, and they're not going to misread or misinterpret anything. Now,
exactly.
Now, the other step up from that is if you do a video chat, right? But there's no excuse not to have effective communication with the person that matters to you. And
well,
Grace,
with that
we're
being
at 10
said,
o'clock.
Gary, this is how it affects. Yeah, I know, but you know this was gonna go over.
I know.
But
I know.
Let me tell you how effective communication helps you in your life. It improves your mental health, social relationship with people around you. It helps you to be more emotionally stable as you can better communicate with people. It improves your existing connections with your peers and can develop deeper bonds. It helps you build new relations that are based on trust and transparency, and it enhances problem-solving skills that can help you resolve conflicts with people around you. So it's important. The communication that Gary and I are more concerned with, though, is effective communication in a relationship, friendship, family. Be clear with what you want to communicate. Make your message clear, what you want to communicate, and make your message clear so that they can hear you accurately and understand what you mean. Again, I'm gonna go back to me and Gary. There are times when me and him are texting, we're both at work and we're trying to communicate, and Gary will be like, fuck it, I'm leaving you a voice message. Because I've noticed that when we're not connecting with the conversation, Gary will stop texting and he'll do a voice message because he knows I can't pick up the phone at work, but I can listen to the voice message. Now I got it. And then I'll text him, okay, I understand better. But you see, because he's a good communicator, a good effective communicator, if he sees that I'm not interpreting what he wants to relay to me in one form, he switches over to another form. And sometimes we'll just say, fuck it, and we'll just call each other. So people need to take the initiative. Talk about what is happening and how it affects you. Talk about what you want, what you need, and what you feel. Use statements such as I need, I want, and I feel. Damn it. People are not fucking mind readers, guys. And some people don't do well with reading between the fucking lines. I don't have time for that. Okay? I don't have time to walk around eggshells with you. I don't have time to second guess what you're thinking. You need to come at me, talk to me, and let's hash it out, because it just clears the air. It just makes things so much better, you know? But here I'm going to bring y'all 7 bullshit ass things that people do when they call themselves trying to communicate, and habits that people do when they think they're doing something. What they're really doing is putting their relationships in jeopardy. And we need to stop doing this. The silent treatment and ghosting people. It's fucking childish. Mm-hmm. If something needs to be addressed, and if something is bothering you, if Gary asks me, Grace, what's wrong? Lady, stop saying nothing when you know deep inside something's fucking wrong with you. Okay? Speak your mind and speak it right then and there. Disparaging comments and insults, that is just nothing but a display of emotional and verbal abuse. When you want to insult somebody and disparaging comments, that's not how you communicate with somebody, especially somebody that you call yourself loving. Yelling and screaming drowns the message and creates more issues, and that distracts you from the original conflict and issue. Look, sometimes yelling is warranted, but at other times people yell for no goddamn reason. It's not necessary. It's the punishment doesn't match the conflict. There's no reason to always to go to the yelling. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's very fucking important to some people on your delivery and approach. For example, yelling and screaming is a clear sign of emotional dysregulation from the individual performing that particular behavior. With me, yelling, I shut down. I tune you out, and I don't have shit to say to you. I would kindly say, look, we need to talk about this at a later date. because I already know you yelling at me, and I figured where that came from. That triggers me because my dad had a habit of yelling a lot. And when I approached him about this, I said, Dad, I can't deal with the yelling. It gives me anxiety. You know what we ended up doing when I became a teenager, Gary? Wally, Leanne, and Simon, we started writing letters to each other, me and my dad. So instead of yelling at each other, we would argue through letter writing. I would leave him a letter in the morning, and he'd have all fucking day to write me back, and I'd find the letter on the dining room table, and we would resolve our issues. He respected the fact, even though I was his child, and he's Italian from New York, and he had a habit of yelling, and that caused me trauma. And then that's why I can't deal with that in a relationship, in any kind of relationship, a boss, romantically, friendship. Don't fucking yell at me, because it's not going to go well, because I'm just going to shut down and I'm moving on. So according to the Seattle Christian Counseling, communication is a fundamental pillar, people, in any relationship, especially a romantic relationship. The success of your relationship is determined by how well you communicate your needs, how well you actively listen to the needs of your partner. Ineffective communication patterns often lead to conflict and misunderstanding because the right skills needs still remains unmet. You could yell at me all you want. You can give me this silent treatment. You can ghost me. You can do all those things. But at the end of the day, the conflict and the issue is still going to be there. We're still going to have to tackle that issue. We're still going to have to address it. You know, thinking that we're going to sweep it underneath the rug and that it's going to go away is not the way to go about it, my embracers. We have to embrace communication. And this is why me and Gary are such big advocates of this, because so much time and energy can be saved. Wouldn't you rather be fucking than arguing and talking about bullshit and doing other better things with your relationship than arguing because you guys can't? I learned a trick in Dr. Phil says some real shit. If I had something serious to talk to Gary about, he said, take 2 chairs and face him face to face and sit Gary in front of me. I'm making it a controlled environment where he can't just get up. And I'm giving him eye contact. I'm touching his hands. I'm letting him know that this is important. He got to put his phone down. He got to shut down his email. Everything is shut down. And now we're facing face to face. I'm holding on to his wrist and I'm talking to him. And I'm making it clear that this is important. Listen to me. And these are the type of tricks and things that you learn by going to therapy. That's why therapy and counseling is so important, because they teach you ways on how to deal with anxiety, how to learn to become a better communicator. I learned things about my ex-husband in 20 minutes of counseling that I would have in 2 years. Why? Because she asked the right questions. She got to him in a way that I couldn't. In 20 minutes, I learned more about him than I did in 2 years. Because I just took shit the wrong way. I took things personally. A closed mouth don't get fed. It's the responsibility of the person with the unmet needs to properly express the needs so the other person can freaking understand your needs and meeting them. Again, we're not mind readers. This concept read between the lines and expecting a person to read your mind is totally bullshit, people. It is. We are not mind readers. We are not there yet. Okay. We don't have that capacity. As far as what I've said so far, do you guys have anything to add or to say? I know I'm moving quickly, but I still have a lot of good information that I want to give out.
Go. Keep it moving. Go. Keep.
Another fucked up habit that we have is that we half-ass listen. You got to put the game controller down. You got to get off social media. You got to, if a person wants to have a serious conversation, and don't be like, Gary, I have to talk to you about, here we go again. That's like so dismissive. You're not even giving me a safe place to want to talk to you. Why would I want to talk to you? So now I'm going to go talk to my work husband, and I'm going to go talk to my best friend, and I'm going to talk to everybody but the person that I'm supposed to be talking to, because you're not making it a safe arena for me to come talk to you.
Exactly. And you're saying the key word. It's not when you have a partner, your partner is supposed to be your safe place. So if your partner is not being your safe place, you got to go to your work husband, right? Or you got to go to your work wife, right? So and I think that's something that a lot of people is forgetting, right?
Exactly.
Your relationship is supposed to help you grow, right? You're not supposed to come home and fight and argue all the time, right? Your partner is supposed to be your safe place, your sanctuary. So if you can't go to them, or if you can't go to them,
what are we doing?
Yeah, then what is the point? Exactly. So there's no.
We can exchange bodily fluids, but we can't change thoughts and express our emotions. Do you see how back-asswards that is, guys? We can connect sexually and physically, but we can't connect intimately and verbally. I mean, we got to do better. It's fucked up because if your person is trying to communicate something to you and you only half listening to the message, and the other person is thinking that you're listening and you're understanding everything, but what you don't understand is by you half listening, you're only delaying the issue of getting shit resolved because the listener is only getting a certain portion of the entire message. And then you men wonder, well, why are you bringing up old shit? That happened 2 months ago. Why? Because in our minds, it has not been resolved. So we're bringing it up when we have your attention. It's frustrating and disrespectful, and it's a waste of time and energy. If you don't feel like talking at that moment, then say it, babe. Let me finish this game. I promise. I got my boys on the line. We're playing this game. Go take a shower. By the time you take your shower, I'll be done with this game, and I'm there for you. But don't say, yeah, I'm going to listen. And I'm saying male or female. Okay, your girl is watching her show and you're trying to talk to her about something, and that's where another one, wrong time and place. There is a time and place for everything, especially to have certain conversations.
I agree with that.
Nature, hold on. Leanne is trying to get in.
But
I agree with what you're saying.
I think that at least in my experience, what I've done is or the relationships that I've dealt with in the past, if my lady has something it's been established that if there's something wrong, then you need to tell me, right? Because if we're in a relationship, I need to know if you're upset, if something is bothering you, right? I don't mind stopping what I'm doing to listen to what you have to say, right? And I think that, you know, at least that's how I work. That's how I deal with things, because in being in a relationship, I want my lady to know that, look, I'm here for you. You could talk to me, if you know. And I've always I've always been like that. There was a situation where I was dealing with one time where it was because she didn't want to talk that we separated, right? Because
well, how did she think the relationship was going to move forward if you guys didn't talk?
Right. It was like, look, she was all for all the great sex, the threesomes, all of that shit, with no problem, right?
Okay.
But when it came to talking, I was like, nah, nah.
Can I ask you a question, Greg?
Yes.
Go.
Can I ask you how long was that relationship for?
The one that I just that one was about seven years ago.
No, how long was it for? Not how long.
Oh, how that was I think that was lasted maybe 2.5 years.
Okay, so what's the longest relationship you've been in?
Longest. Oh man, longest. Think about.
Simon be asking them questions.
I gotta think now. Shit.
Wait a minute. How come you thinking about that shit? We know as men how long you've been bodying a woman. How long was
I mean,
how long was the
longest
longest relationship you've
the
been in?
longest committed relationship was when I was in my mid-20s, and I was like, what, 4 years?
All right, so I'm gonna hand it over to Wally. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here because, yo, I'm telling you, like, I have these conversations all day long with men, okay, and I appreciate it, but people don't listen. I'm telling you, like, it takes a minute to work women out, be with a woman, appreciate a woman, understand the woman, and hold them down for their lifetime. And I'm not deducting anything from Greg. The thing is, it's
Gary.
just I'm just Gary Greg. Sorry. I'll get that straight out at some
I
point
was
in time.
wondering, like,
But it's just
that's
like
why he said my
Go ahead,
I'll get it straight at some point in time. I'm bad with names, but I'm just saying, like, we need to get to a point where there's a level of seriousness, okay? And I think women want us to hold them down for life, not just for a period. So, in saying that, I'm a guy over here that's done that for a minute, a decade. Feel free to reach out to me. Let's have conversations. Let's talk. Let's continue this conversation. I'm going to tune into this lady's channel all day long because I think what she's stating is facts. You know, whether you're a single father, single mother, single parent, or you're in a marriage or whatever it is, don't really matter. You get what I'm saying? The fact is that we're having this conversation. We're able to have this conversation. And I've been privileged to this conversation. So salute you, madam. I've got to go though, because I've got to go somewhere else. And I'm subscribed. Everyone subscribe to this channel, man. What's up, man? No one's putting that like and thumbnail in the chat. Subscribe to the channel. Do that thing. This is a brilliant conversation. We're gonna record this, man, and it's got I'm gonna show my children this. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's facts. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's
Shout out to the panel, Wally, everyone that chimed in, man. The lady with that just pulled up her thumbnail over
Leanne.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Leanne's crazy, but I love Leanne. I told you.
Leanne is good. No, she's good.
No,
she's
I'm
good.
over. I'm at Simon Hectic Live, man. Just come over and just have you can email me or whatever you want, like good or bad, whatever.
Put it in the chat because nobody heard what you said.
Oh, you heard what I said, man. I'll
put
put in the chat
in
anyway.
the chat, my dear.
I know what you operate like. Don't do that to me. What's up? You see what's going on here? Lord God, already. I ain't even done nothing. I'll put in the chat.
All right.
But yeah. I've got to go, man.
Okay, my dear. Thank you for coming. See you next Monday. We'll be talking about emotional intelligence. So
thank you.
That's
Thank
going
you
to be
very
another
much,
good
miss.
one.
You're a good one, man. That's why I'm here.
I'll
All right.
see you at Precious Live, okay? So, time and place. There is a time and place for everything, especially to have certain conversations due to the nature of the subject. If the conversations begin in an undesired time or location, the message is likely to be completely, as the listener will check out and focus more on the inappropriateness instead of the damn conversation. That person is going to be concentrating more on the inappropriateness of the time and location versus the conversation you're trying to have with that person. So playing your video games and sport and trying to have a serious conversation while Gary's eating or while I'm watching my football game is not the time to have a conversation with me. Okay, at least wait till the commercial or halftime. I mean, you got to know your partner. You got to know your partner well enough to know when the hell to talk to them. You don't have a full blown out argument at a family barbecue. I mean, some things need to be kept sacred and private. So, and that's that's a lot of the times what we do. And and another one that Gary always brings up is while you're at work. You can't have a serious fucking conversation when I'm trying to be at work and trying to do my job and you're stressing me out while I'm at work in public or a family member house or party. And this last one that I want to talk to you about, this is a fucking deal breaker with me if I'm dating somebody. It's annoying, it's draining, and it's a turnoff to me. Assuming shit that takes place when a person accepts something as truth without even verifying it first. Jumping to conclusions, jumping the gun. Every conversation should have two sides. This right here, like I said, can be a deal breaker for me. It's just draining that I got to explain myself everything without you even asking me. I don't have time to explain your assumptions without you even asking first. It's dramatic, and it shows me that you're insecure. And that's childish to me. Oh, I see a lot of guys in your DM. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people in my DMs because I'm a podcaster, and a lot of people send me motherfucking videos and reels and topics to write about. If I'm talking to you and I'm interested in you, that's all you should be focused on. Don't worry about my inbox, because at the end of the day, it's a deal breaker to me, because I'm not going to be sitting here and people do that a lot without even communicating. Oh, well, who's that? Is that somebody you've been with before?
Well, see, I think that's that right there. And we've had this, I believe we've had this discussion before, where social media, right? So people that are in relationships, they let social media mess up their relationship.
Yeah.
Who liked that picture? Why did she put a heart there? Or why did he put a heart there? Or who's that comment? And with me, it's like that. I mean, I've said like that, I'm not going to deal with a woman that's going to be on that social media shit. Like, you have
Gary,
one time.
I have to learn that too.
Yeah, a woman has, because for me, I will state it like, look, if you're into that social media shit about who, what, where, when, and or why am I liking this, or who liked this, like, nah, then we're done, right? Because I mean, to me, our relationship is supposed to supersede social media. If you and your partner is into each other like that, then all that social media shit doesn't matter. Unfortunately, people get so sucked up, and both men and women, because I see some men act worse than women.
Yep.
Right? Like, on some real shit, right?
And that's some feminine shit to me. I look at you as an insecure little boy when you question me like that, because I be telling them, yo, I be sliding into some people's DMs too, because I want to do a collab with them. I want to get to know them. I want to learn more about what they're doing. But that doesn't mean that I'm trying to holler. I mean, isn't that where the trust factor comes in?
See, a lot of people have insecurity issues. That's what this insecure, and it's, I think it all goes back to the different traumas that people have, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and insecurity for whatever past relationship trauma issues that plays right into that. It's a lot of insecurity issues, right? Because that's
where counseling and therapy is so important, Gary. Well, that's why people need to go. People need to unpack it. I
mean, you can't, because if you've dated three different people, and these three different people have the same or treated you the same way, now you come into the new relationship with the fourth person, you're gonna think he's like everybody. You're gonna think that he's like the rest of them.
Every person should be a clean slate. I'm not saying don't be cautious and slowly put your guards down, but you can't. I hate when a man puts me in the same category of all the other girls he used to date. I'm my own person.
But see, this is where conversation comes in, right? Talking. Hey, talk. Let's get to know each other. You get to know me. I get to know you. We take our time, and as we get comfortable, then we start to reveal more and more about ourselves. So we get to know. People don't do. People don't have the real conversations anymore.
Exactly. So now here, Gary, I have 7 steps on how to become a more effective communicator. The first one is be mindful. Stay in the moment, in the conversation, in the year, in the month, while examining your action thoughts. Don't shit from 3 years ago. What did Snoop Dogg used to say? Keep the lecture at hand.
Yeah.
Stick to the topic. Okay. I don't practice again. The number 2, practice active listening. Listen wholeheartedly. A great way to reassure your partner you're engaged and interested in what they're saying. I mean, it's so dismissive and so disrespectful when I'm up to you and you're just not paying attention. That's like, nah.
Well,
Speak clearly and with clarity. Express.
A lot of people don't like to listen, unfortunately. No, I'm just saying that a lot of people, I think that's a problem because a lot of people don't listen to understand, right?
They listen to respond.
They listen to either respond or listen to just get it over with. Which either way, the problem is not resolved.
Exactly. And then you get pissed off. Why are we still talking about this? Oh, you're going to bring that up again? Yeah, because in the person's mind, it has not been resolved. Just fucking talk about it and get it over with and keep it moving. So not only should you speak clearly and with clarity, express the issue or complaint along with a suggestion. 4, seek understanding. It allows for the relationship investments in that both parties can go as deep as it needs to get in order to find out the whys. Using I statements provides individual with a level of compassion and reassurance that your partner is taking accountability for their part in the conflict and problem. Another thing that we need to do more is ask open-ended questions. It prevents the conversation from being stopped prematurely with a simple yes or no. For example, did you hear me? It leaves no further room for dialogue and understanding. Whereas if you ask, tell me how you feel about what I just said. You see the difference? If I ask Gary, did you hear me? All he's going to say is yes or no. But if I ask him, how did you feel about what I just said? It opens up dialogue. The second option allows your person to express feelings while giving the opportunity to clarify the facts and stay on topic. I mean, guys, a lot of this is common sense, but I know that common sense ain't so common.
Right, exactly.
You know, there's no excuse why we can't learn how to be better and more effective communications. Number 7, validate feelings. I think somebody brought that up.
I said that.
Validating feeling and communicating that your partner has been heard will contribute to your relationship's transparency and honesty. It prevents shutting down or feeling unheard. For example, what I heard was that you feel alone in the chores around the house because I left the dishes in the sink. Is that right? There should always be focus on the feelings. And that's where Leanne, that's where you come in when you were talking about feelings. There should always be focus on the feelings and not the behavior, as the feelings will and should evoke change behavior. Leanne, I didn't want to tell you right then and there, but you were absolutely right. It's the feeling. This makes me feel fucked up.
Let me add to that. One of the things that I catch people on is nobody can make you feel a specific way. Always rephrase that. When this happens, I feel this way. Because you have to take personal responsibility for continuing the engagement with somebody who's causing a situation where you feel it's fucked up. And by personalizing it and making the statement of, you know, I feel like this when this happens, it gives them also the opportunity to understand that you can decide to no longer engage in that circumstance because you don't choose to feel that way any further. But so also, always catch yourself when you want to say, well, you make me feel like this, and step back and rephrase it in your head, because then you take personal responsibility for that engagement.
Well, let me add to that there, where in terms of the feeling is, you know, the man, your partner, validating, acknowledging how you're feeling, right?
Yep.
Whereas, as I was saying before, I think a lot of times where the disconnect is when a woman says how she feels, the way the guy responds is making her making her feelings. Her feelings are not considered or validated, or it feel like it's thrown away, or it doesn't matter, right? So you have to make her
taken into consideration,
right? But you have to make her feel like her feelings matter, that she's heard, and I think a lot. That's what that right there is where a lot of the, I guess the issues come in, right? Because women want to feel like their feelings are heard, they're validated, right? And I think that a lot of guys, they don't.
This is
and they got to learn, and
this is where my women's studies background comes in, and language is really important. And it's not a male versus female thing, but when you make statements like somebody wants to feel like they've been heard is a very different statement than everybody wants to be heard and understood. You got to make it a very direct statement, because there's always wiggle room in the make somebody feel like, and a lot of people won't process their first person responsibility in that situation.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't disagree with you on that. I think in what you're saying is that, using the choice of words, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to use the choice. Be careful with the words that you use, right? So, and I think that using the choice of words, so the point that you're trying to make, it comes across with maximum, I guess, effect, right?
Definitive. It's being decisive. It's being
exactly. No, I get it. Right. I know. I got it.
And Leanne, would you agree that it also is important on your delivery and approach?
Yeah.
Because if you come wrong and with this rah, 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 I have learned to just like walk away now. I used to come back at you like that, but I know how to preserve my energy now. I'm not going to go off. I'm just like, look, we can't talk about this right now. You acting crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, I remember I used to get upset at my ex-husband for the behavior of his first wife. That was crazy, Leanne. Why would I get mad at him for how his ex-wife was behaving? I had to actually channel and actually look back at like, wait, he's not at fault here. It's not his fault that she showed up at the house and left a note at the door. He can't control her behavior, but I would take it out on him. Why? Because he was the closest person there. And another thing,
to that person being there. So yeah.
And another thing that people have to understand, let's say me and Gary are dating and he does something that upsets me. How am I going to get upset with him when I've never addressed something like that would upset me? Don't hold it in. Let that person know, Gary, I didn't really appreciate you cutting me off while I was having a conversation at the dinner table with your family. I don't like that. I don't like being cut off. Okay, so now he knows. I let him know. Now, if he does it again, I usually give a person a second chance. Maybe they forgot. But when you do it a third time, now it's intentional. Now you just don't give a fuck. I've expressed it to you.
Good communication is always about informing them of what bothers you, and then it's really legitimately up to them to make the choice whether it's important enough to change the behavior. It's not about an ultimatum. It's not about either or. It's about, I've given you the information, and you've proven to me now on the third time that obviously is not important enough to you. So maybe we need to rethink this. And, I'm very plain and simple when it comes to that kind of stuff, but it also has to be a lot about, the personal responsibility of being involved in somebody who's clearly not respecting you, and there's people that don't make that call. And then that's where the drama ensues that we've been talking about, where women are over emotional and they're doing it. That's a lack of personal responsibility. Don't continue engage in a situation that's like crazy like that. And I'm all about chances too, but 3 strikes, you're out, man.
Yep, that's how I play. And the best apology is change behavior. Don't keep apologizing about the same shit over and over again. Like this assumption thing that I told you is a deal breaker for me. I would never, you know, I was actually talking to a guy like that, and it's very stressful on me. You're questioning everything I do. You're even me, saw you online for all day, but you didn't respond to my. I don't sign out of Facebook ever, so it's gonna show that that green light is on. That doesn't mean I'm actively on. It annoys me, and I just don't deal with it because I don't have that kind of time to explain to you every move that I'm making. If I'm dating you and I'm seeing you, that's all you should be worried about. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna turn around and give it to. Go ahead, honey.
Aren't we the only ones here?
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's people watching, but we are on the panel.
Oh, okay.
But I'm Leanne. I'm gonna give it to you because you are the guest. You are the guest of honor, and I do thank. And I would love for you to come up, keep coming up, because now that you say you've done studies with women and stuff, look,
my minor's in women's studies.
I'm trying.
That's why I get very particular about. Yeah, we've got to be really careful as men and women that we're not compromising the other for the sake of one. And so when it becomes an either or situation, I mean, when we're talking about custody and men as fathers, all of the most successful, engaged, thoroughly compassionate and amazing fathers I know are Black men who have sole custody of their kids. And I think that a lot of the problems have to do with the court system and a huge selection of a lot of white men who are just paying the money or not paying the money and then blaming the ex-wife. And so, you know, a lot, like they talk about women don't get as much of a sentence in court when they're abusive and that kind of stuff. The same thing goes in terms of seeing Black men as the father figure when they've been, you know, institutionally denied that for years. So, you know, there's a lot of it that goes on. My daughter's father, my younger daughter's dad, had a child with a previous relationship. She took her 3 daughters, the middle child being his, to social services, told him she didn't want him anymore. It took him 7 years of classes to get full custody of his own child when he didn't do anything wrong.
Wow.
You know,
but now, but you see, Leanne, now that you've communicated with me that you've done studies with women, now I understand why you feel so strongly on your stance and the importance of the words that we use. You see how communication is a beautiful thing, ladies and gentlemen? It's important. Now I understand why you are the way you are and why you're so passionate, because you actually took the time to study all this.
Levels. You know, people abuse systems in multiple ways. The trick is looking at whether or not it's supported by a greater system that causes the damage to be strong, more impactful. But no, I do appreciate it. This conversation is great. I missed you last week, but you know, like that's what I was going to say. The person that was talking the first time I jumped on, who was running all over your conversation and disrespecting you. And that statement of, oh, well, you're not listening to me because you're not agreeing is always an interesting deterrent to communication.
The one that I had to pass now. Okay. You see, he hasn't come back yet. You know, I would have welcomed him, but that only goes to show his maturity level.
Right. You know, and so those kinds of things, dip that in the bud as well, because just because somebody wants to talk doesn't mean they have something good to say. And it doesn't mean that their perspective is any more valid than anyone else's. It doesn't make it invalid, but it has its limits. And any man that wants to talk for all men,
absolutely,
it's like any woman that wants to talk for all women. You know, I have very few female relationships, and all through, even in high school, man, I was the chick hanging out with the guys going, you better run because they're all coming for your ass right now. And you're about to deal with
that
crazy.
Was me, Leanne. So you know, because I get along with men better than women because women are competitive, they're catty, they're gossipers, and they'll bring you down. Whereas a man, they either want to help you or they want to fuck you, and they want to do both.
We have to
but at
really
least they're willing
careful.
to do some.
We have to be really careful and cautious about jumping on the bandwagon of validating a stereotype or perspective on women as a whole, because it's the same thing with men there's a lot of shit men out there. I've met a bunch of them, and there's a lot of really good ones. So we've got to be really careful as women that to validate the point of a man, that we don't invalidate the point of a woman. And both perspectives are correct, because they can exist in the same plane. There can be conflicting opinions and conflicting views, and that's what the conversation needs to be about, is figure out how to see it from the other person's perspective, in an open and honest way, because
words matter.
That's the hard conversation, man.
I hate when people say all women or all single mothers suck, or all that. No, you can't say all, because there's some good ones out here. There's some ones that are doing their things. Maybe you could say most single moms, but I don't. That irks me.
I have experienced, because that's in the first person, and I have had one instance in all of my dating history where I feel like I have come close to being the crazy person, and that was with a malignant narcissist, and I ran across the country to get away from that person because I didn't like who I was becoming in the wake of the manipulations. And so, a lot of that crazy comes from response. Some of it is upbringing, some of it is cultural, some of it is a lot of people think relationships are defined by the conflict that it brings on, that you must care about somebody a lot if you're going to get really angry. And that's a fucked up way of thinking, but it does exist.
Absolutely. So to wrap it up in a nice box with a bow, Leanne, go ahead and give me your final thoughts.
Oh God, I don't have any final thoughts. Thanks
effective communication. Hey, if you don't have anything, then you don't have anything. And you say you don't have a YouTube channel?
And a ladybug just landed on top of my sewing machine. How weird is that?
Right. All right, Gary.
Yeah.
All right, Gary. Then you go ahead and give me your final thoughts and the conversation we had tonight.
It was definitely a great conversation that we had. I mean, communication, as Grace and I have spoken about in I don't know, like a broken record for the last, 2-3 months. Communication is extremely important. And I think that any type of relationship that you're getting into, it's about establishing effective communication. And it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
You could learn how to be an effective communicator. I learned how to be an effective communicator. I was never bad, but
you became better.
But I became better, right? I became better. So what I would like to say, what I just want to end with is kind of what I started with. There's 7 different male personality types, and there are 6 different female personality types. And each of those have the way that they communicate. I think people have to find out what personality type they are. And I think that will tell you a lot, right? In terms of how you like to communicate, because everybody doesn't communicate the same way. And I think once you're able to find out what personality type you are, and if you're dealing with someone that you're looking to get into a relationship with, you need to find out what type of personality they are, and then see if y'all can effectively communicate. Because I think once you're able to find out that, it would make things a whole lot easier. The other thing is that a lot of people have a lot of trauma out there, right? And there's a lot of unhealed trauma. Right? And I think that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
That needs to be addressed. And I think, we all, and I guess the final thing is that we all want to have great relationships, but it has to be, we have to be able to have the effective conversation, because that's what's going to, the effective, the real conversations with effective communication, because that's what's going to lay the foundation.
Here we go.
For a strong relationship.
Absolutely.
That was easy for you to say.
Whatever.
And where can we find you, Gary?
Oh, okay. You could find me on The Real Discussion. We're on a 2-month hiatus now, but we'll be back in July. But we're on Friday nights from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The Real Discussion with Rock Logic, with Gary D and Robin. And actually, Leanne, she comes on a lot, and her and Rock always get into it.
Rock, I miss him.
Her and Rock always get into it. It's good. It's good. It's good. So yeah.
Well, Leanne, I'll be in New York on the 18th, so hopefully maybe we could meet or something. Okay.
Oh, I'm in South Carolina. I'm getting ready to go to Colorado for my first grandbaby.
I know that's right.
So
all right, guys. So I guess it's my turn. So let me go ahead and let me go ahead and land this.
Go ahead.
So guys, let me go ahead and take this comment off. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, effective communication skills are a must to have a healthy relationship, whether it's a friendship, romantic relationship, work-related, marriage, business partner, children. Ultimately, effective communication will build desire, trust, and intimacy. Whether you want to discuss something trivial or traumatic, communication helps you get your message across. All social attachments and bonds are born from communication. However, effective communication skills make the difference between a healthy relationship and a toxic one. So we must take the time to learn to have effective communication. Like Gary said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen next week. It takes time. You have to read. You have to read up on something. I didn't even show my videos. I take the time to bring videos up, and we don't even see the videos because the conversation gets so good. But
hey, we can
again,
do
you
part
guys
two.
Can find me on you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and of course YouTube. If anybody out there embrace this channel, if you like what you heard, subscribe, like, and share, and definitely donate, because me and Gary put a lot of work into these week after week. So I appreciate you, Leanne. Gary, it's always a pleasure talking with you and having you on your show. With that being said, love you guys and see you next week. It's going to be about now that we talked about communication, next week we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. Take care, guys, and have a good night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.